Test review, vocabulaire, les pays francophones. So you can go ahead and fast forward to get to the part that you feel that you need to review, or you can watch it all. That's up to you. It depends on where you're at and what you feel that you need in order to prepare for this test. In this review, we will recap the vocabulary, the map of European countries, the French-speaking countries, and the story behind them, and the reasons why France is famous. Let's start with our vocabulary. Le pays, francophone, la France, français, de, d'origine, le drapeau, le béret, la baguette, s'appelle, je, il, elle, je m'appelle, il s'appelle, elle s'appelle. Voici, l'Europe, la France, la Belgique, le Luxembourg, la Suisse, Monaco, la Corse, l'Afrique, l'Amérique, le Québec, les Caraïbes, du Nord, de l'Est, du Sud, de l'Ouest. All right, so let's go back and pay special attention to the countries in Europe that you need to know. So Europe, as you can see, is located right above North Africa over here, and we have the Mediterranean Sea over there. Here is the Atlantic Ocean, the English Channel, the Baltic Sea, the Black Sea is over here next to Greece, and then you have the Northern Sea right here. Okay, so here is France. Of course, that's our reference point for this chapter and for this class. La Belgique is north of France, right between France and Germany. That little triangle here is the Netherlands. So here's Belgium, La Belgique. And next to Belgium is a tiny, tiny, tiny country, which is le Luxembourg. Le Luxembourg is a one-city country. Here's La Suisse. So next to France, between France, Italy, and Germany is Switzerland. That's why we speak all those languages. The French area is on the west, the German-speaking area in the north. And there's a small Italian area, Italian-speaking area in the south of Switzerland. So that's why we're a multilingual country. Monaco, you can barely even see it on the map. I'm going to put my dot right here where Monaco is located. Monaco is really tiny. It's right between France and Italy. In the Mediterranean Sea, you have this island here between Italy and France called Corsica, La Corse, and Corsica belongs with France. Actually, it's part of France, but I want you to know where it's located. L'Afrique, of course, Africa right here. You can't miss it. It's a huge continent. L'Amérique, so you know that French is spoken in North America, in Quebec, and a little bit in Louisiana and in some islands of the Caribbean. And here is Quebec, by the way, located right here north of the United States. So that's in the northeast area of the United States. Okay, and in the Caribbeans, right here, the Caribbeans are between right off of Central America, right between North America and South America. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of those places some more. Let me go to this area right here. Okay, so le monde francophone. Notice on this map how every country that is shaded in pink speaks French. So French is spoken literally everywhere on the planet, in all continents except maybe Australia, and of course Antarctica. But basically, you'll find some French-speaking country everywhere. All right. So here, the level of shading means the amount of French that is spoken. So the ones with the darkest shade of red is where the most French is spoken, and the ones that have like less shading or that close to yellow have French spoken as one of the languages, but it's not the only language there. All right, so North and West Africa is a huge area. The French went and conquered areas in North Africa and in North America. In North America, they lost most of it because Napoleon sold the Louisiana Territory, but in Africa, their presence remained all the way until the last century, and the language remains. This is why it's important. That's the reason why a lot of people from Africa decide to emigrate to France to find better jobs. Here in Asia, we have Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia that had a French presence at some times also because the French went and colonized those countries. Here, the island of Madagascar also speaks French. All right, in Europe, we've already talked extensively about Europe, so I'm going to go a little fast. In North America, we have Quebec, Louisiana. Over here, there's some French spoken. It's not pure French, it's blended with African dialects because they unfortunately kidnapped people from Africa to bring them as slaves on plantations. The plantation masters that spoke French had to communicate with the slaves, so they ended up with some sort of blend. So it's not, it's called Cajun French or Creole. That's also what's spoken here in Haiti and in Guadeloupe and Martinique. Those places speak French as well. And in South America, we have French Guiana, which is one tiny territory here. In French Polynesia, right here, which in the middle of the island of in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, we have the island of Tahiti and French Polynesia, New Caledonia. Those islands speak French as well because the French went and colonized those places. So everything beside the country of France is really a result of colonization. Okay, so we talked about Europe. I'm not gonna go more in depth about that, but those are the five countries that speak French in Europe, and you need to know how to locate those countries. All right, so what is French famous for? Well, all those things, and we're going to talk about each one really quickly. So, again, this is fairly quick. We talked about clichés, and let's talk about France. So, we have the béret. Un béret is a type of hat that used to be worn as part of a traditional outfit. So, you still see older men wearing those, not younger men so much, but there is some truth to the béret. It came from ancient folkloric outfits. La baguette and les croissants, definitely true. We love our bread, and bread is very important. We go every day to the bakery to buy it fresh. So that's a very important part of food and of French life. So les croissants is a type of crescent-shaped pastry. Wine is definitely a true cliche. In France, we drink a lot of wine. There's a huge wine production. That's one of the big export France uh, produces and exports lots and lots of wine, and people don't just export it, they also drink it. So these are some types of wines that you might see: Champagne, Cabernet Sauvignon, Bordeaux, Beaujolais, Muscat. Those are all regions of France where wine is produced. What else is famous in France? The types of cheese. We have every region produces a type of cheese. We have Brie, Camembert, Roquefort, Bleu, Chèvre. Um, there's hundreds of different types of cheese produced in France. Gastronomy. If you want to become a chef, France is the place to go study. They have the best chef school and the finest cuisine in the world. Actually, a lot of words in cooking and in restaurants, menus and stuff come from French. À la mode, sauté, entrée, menu du jour, etc. So gourmet food is a big deal in France. Traveling along with Rome and London, Paris is the number one European destination, and France is one of the most visited and touristic countries in the world. For lovers, also, it's a very romantic place. The nickname of Paris is the City of Lights, and it's a beautiful place to discover with your significant other. France is famous for architecture and historical landmarks. You have La Tour Eiffel, La Cathédrale de Notre-Dame, the Palace of Versailles, and a gazillion beautiful castles that you can see if you travel to France. France is famous for its leaders. Some of them were infamous. They are famous for doing bad things, but they're famous nonetheless. Napoleon, we have Louis the 14th, who built the Versailles Palace right here. Louis XVI and his wife right here, Marie Antoinette, got beheaded during the French Revolution. Also, there's William the Conqueror, Charlemagne. Those are just a few famous French aristocrats and leaders. France no longer has a monarchy. They beheaded all their kings and queens, and now they have a democracy. But those were very famous. Okay, France is famous for its artists and its art. We have Chopin, Eric Satie, Debussy, Bizet, Hector Berlioz, Maurice Ravel, that are French musicians and composers. Painters and sculptors. We have painters like Claude Monet, Henri Matisse, Toulouse-Lautrec, Renoir, and Rodin is a sculptor. Ballet. France is known for ballet, and a lot of dance words come from French. Plier, entrechat, jeter, barre, pirouette, etc. Those are French words. The Garnier Opera in France, it doesn't just produce opera, it also has the Ballet Academy if you want to become a ballerina in France, or if you want to become a ballerina and you want to go to a French dance academy, that's the place to go. All right, France is famous for literature. We have uh, uh, authors like Voltaire, Victor Hugo, Alexandre Dumas, Saint-Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, or Charles Baudelaire that gave us The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Les Miserables. Alexandre Dumas wrote all the Musketeers story. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry wrote The Little Prince. Those are all famous authors. Le foot of France is currently, right now, as I'm speaking, in September of 2022, still the champion of the world. We'll wait for the upcoming World Cup to see if that stays that way. No pressure, but for now, they are the crowned champion for soccer. Okay, le Tour de France. Oh, and by the way, sorry, here are some famous names to remember: Antoine Griezmann, Kylian Mbappé, Paul Pogba, Zinedine Zidane, Hugo Lloris, and Olivier Giroud. Those are all French soccer players. Okay, le Tour de France, a famous cycling competition that takes 3 weeks to complete, and they go all throughout the country of France. And also perfume, cosmetics, all those brands: Garnier, L'Oréal, L'Occitane, Dior, Chanel, Givenchy. Those are all French brands of cosmetics. They produce and export a lot of cosmetics. And high fashion, luxury fashion, haute couture designers like Christian Dior, Louis Vuitton, Coco Chanel, Hermès, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Pierre Cardin, Givenchy, Louboutin, etc. Those are all French designers. So London, Paris, and Milan are the big places for fashion, but Paris definitely. Okay, France is the main leader in the world and in Europe. They used to be a very powerful political power, and like I said, they did colonize a lot of countries. Now that they kind of retracted and they're done back to just their own country, but they're still a big player in the world powers. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this presentation and that you feel ready for the test. If you have any questions, you can email me or get in touch to catch up.